Listen to me carefully. What I am about to say may disturb your comfort, may challenge your beliefs, and may shake what you have been taught for years. But truth is not meant to make you comfortable. Truth is meant to make you free, and freedom always begins where fear ends. For a long time, many people have been taught that giving is the proof of faith. They have been told that if they do not give, they do not believe enough. They have been told that if they do not pay, they will not be blessed. They have been told that heaven has a price and that the door of God opens only for those who can afford it. But listen to me, God is not a businessman. Heaven is not a marketplace. Grace is not for sale. I am not here to fight giving. Giving is powerful. Giving is spiritual. Giving is biblical. But manipulation is not spiritual. Fear is not faith. Pressure is not obedience. And control is not God. Many people give not because they understand, but because they are afraid. They give because they have been taught that if they stop giving, their lives will collapse. They give because they fear losing protection, blessings, opportunities, or favor. But when giving is driven by fear, it stops being worship and becomes slavery. Look at your heart. Ask yourself honestly, why do I give? Is it love or fear? Is it gratitude, attitude, or pressure? Is it understanding or intimidation? Because God does not want your money if He does not have your heart. And if your heart is free, your giving will be free too. There are people who give faithfully but remain broken inside. They give but are full of anxiety. They give but are full of resentment. They give but feel exploited. They give but secretly feel angry with God. This is not what God intended. Listen to me. God does not bless you because you give. He blesses you because He is good. He does not love you because you pay. He loved you before you ever gave anything. He does not protect you because you contribute. He protects you because you belong to Him. If blessing depended on money, the poor would have no hope. If favor depended on wealth, the weak would be abandoned. But God is not like humans. He does not measure your value by your wallet. He measures your heart by your surrender. Some people have been taught that if they do not give a certain amount, God will punish them. But God is not a tyrant. He is not waiting for an excuse to destroy you. He is not sitting on a throne with a calculator, counting your offerings and deciding whether you deserve mercy. Think deeply. Did God ever ask the hungry to give before feeding them? Did He ever demand payment before healing the sick? Did He ever charge the blind before opening their eyes? Did He ever ask the broken to pay before restoring them? No. He gave freely because love gives before it asks. Giving is not a tax. It is not a spiritual bill. It is not a membership fee to remain in God's favor. True giving flows from understanding, not coercion. It flows from gratitude, not fear. It flows from revelation, not manipulation. There are people who feel guilty every time they cannot give. They feel like failures. They feel like sinners. They feel rejected by God. But listen to me. Your worth is not measured by your ability to give. Your identity is not defined by your contribution. Your relationship with God is not a transaction. Some voices have taught that if you give more, God will love you more. But God's love is not progressive. It is complete. It is not conditional. It is not negotiable. It is not dependent on your performance. If money could buy God's presence, then the richest people would be the most spiritual. If money could secure divine favor, then the wealthy would never suffer. But life proves otherwise. Look around you. There are generous people who still struggle. There are faithful givers who still face storms. There are sincere believers who still go through trials. Does that mean God has abandoned them? No. It means that life is deeper than formulas. Do not reduce God to a formula. Do not reduce faith to a system. Do not reduce spirituality to a financial equation. Some people have been told, if you don't give, God will close doors. But listen to me, God is not limited by your wallet. He opened doors for people who had nothing. He lifted people who were forgotten. He used people who were rejected. He blessed people who had no resources except faith. The danger is not giving. The danger is when giving becomes a tool of control. When people are made to feel that God is angry with them because of money. When people are taught to fear God instead of knowing Him. When people are conditioned to believe that their spiritual value depends on financial contribution. God is not afraid of your questions. He is not threatened by your doubts. He is not insecure about your understanding. He wants you to know the truth, not just obey blindly. True faith is not blind obedience. True faith is conscious surrender. There are people who have given for years but never experienced peace. They gave hoping that one day God would notice them. They gave hoping that one day their problems would disappear. But listen to me, giving is not a magic key. It is not a guarantee of a problem-free life. God does not want you to give what you do not understand. He wants you to understand what you give. If your giving is destroying your peace, something is wrong. If your giving is killing your joy, something is wrong. If your giving is making you resent God, something is wrong. God does not want robotic givers. He wants conscious believers. The greatest gift you can give God is not money. It is your heart, your obedience, your humility, your character, your love, your integrity. Money can leave your hand without changing your heart. But true worship changes your heart before it touches your hand. Listen to me carefully. The purpose of giving is not to make God richer. God is not poor. The purpose of giving is not to buy miracles. Miracles are not for sale. The purpose of giving is not to compete with others. Faith is not a competition. The purpose of giving is to express love, support, responsibility, and gratitude, not fear, pressure, or manipulation. If someone tells you that God will curse you because you did not give, ask yourself, is this God speaking or fear speaking? If someone tells you that your future depends on your payment, ask yourself, is this faith or control? God wants your heart, not your fear. He wants your understanding, not your confusion. He wants your love, not your anxiety. There are people who have lost their faith because of financial pressure. They felt used. They felt exploited. They felt that God was only interested in their money. But God is not like that. God is not after your money. He is after your transformation. If you give with love, it is powerful. If you give with understanding, it is spiritual. If you give with joy, it is worship. But if you give with fear, it is bondage. Break free from fear. Break free from guilt. Break free from manipulation. Discover the truth. God is not a collector of offerings. He is a restorer of souls. He is not a banker. He is a father. And a father does not threaten his children with poverty to force them to obey. If your relationship with God is based on fear of losing money, then it is not a relationship. It is a contract. God does not want contracts. He wants connection. When you understand this, your giving will change. It will become free, joyful, sincere, and meaningful. You will no longer give because you are afraid. You will give because you are alive spiritually. Listen to me one last time. Do not let anyone turn God into a business and faith into a transaction. Do not let anyone make you feel that you are worthless because of money. Do not let anyone replace truth with fear. Because when truth enters your heart, fear leaves. When understanding comes, manipulation dies. When you know God, no one can control you with money. And when your heart is free, your giving will be pure. Look at your life for a moment and ask yourself honestly what happens when truth enters your heart. Truth does not come quietly. Truth shakes what you have accepted without questioning. Truth challenges what you have believed without understanding. Truth removes the chains that you did not even know were holding you. And when truth touches your spirit, something powerful happens inside you. You begin to breathe differently. You begin to think differently. You begin to see God differently. And when you see God differently, your giving changes, your faith changes, your relationship changes, your entire spiritual life changes. Many people have never experienced freedom in truth. They have experienced obedience without understanding. They have experienced discipline without revelation. They have experienced giving without clarity. They have followed rules without knowing why. They have given because they were told to give. They have sacrificed because they were afraid not to. But fear never produces purity. Pressure never produces sincerity. Control never produces love. Only truth produces freedom, and only freedom produces pure giving. When a person does not know the truth, they can be easily controlled. When a person does not understand God, they can be easily manipulated. When a person does not understand why they give, they can be easily frightened into giving. But when truth enters the heart, manipulation loses its power. Fear loses its grip. Pressure loses its voice. And suddenly, giving becomes something beautiful, something voluntary, something joyful, something spiritual, something deeply personal. Truth opens your eyes to see that God is not forcing you to give. God is not threatening you to give. God is not intimidating you to give. God is inviting you to understand. God is inviting you to grow. God is inviting you to love. And when you realize this, your giving becomes an expression of your heart, not a reaction to fear. There is a difference between giving because you are afraid and giving because you are free. Giving because you are afraid is heavy. It feels like a burden. It feels like a duty. It feels like an obligation. It feels like something you must do to survive spiritually. But giving because you are free is light. It feels like joy. It feels like gratitude. It feels like honor. It feels like connection. It feels like worship. Freedom in truth changes your perception of God. You stop seeing God as someone who is constantly watching your wallet. You stop seeing God as someone who is counting your offerings. You stop seeing God as someone who is waiting to punish you if you fail. Instead, you begin to see God as someone who cares about your soul, your growth, your character, your inner life, your purpose, your transformation. When truth enters your heart, you realize that God is not desperate for your money. God is not insecure about your contribution. God is not dependent on your resources. God existed before your giving. God will exist beyond your giving. And when you understand this, your giving becomes pure because it is no longer driven by fear or pressure, but by understanding and love. Many people have never tasted pure giving because they have never tasted freedom. They give, but their hearts are not free. They give, but their minds are full of fear. They give, but their spirits are full of anxiety. They give, but their souls are full of confusion. They give, but deep inside they feel trapped. But when truth comes, something breaks inside. Something releases inside. Something awakens inside. And suddenly, giving becomes a choice, not a chain. Truth teaches you that giving is not a spiritual tax. It is not a spiritual fine. It is not a spiritual punishment. It is not a spiritual requirement to remain accepted by God. Truth teaches you that giving is a response, not a demand. It is a reflection, not a condition. It is a fruit, not a force. When you are free in truth, you stop giving to impress people. You stop giving to compete with others. You stop giving to prove your spirituality. You stop giving to earn validation. You stop giving to secure approval. Instead, you begin to give because your heart understands the meaning of generosity. Your spirit understands the value of sharing. Your mind understands the purpose of support. Your soul understands the joy of contribution. Freedom in truth also exposes the difference between religion and relationship. Religion forces you to give without understanding. Relationship inspires you to give with love. Religion uses fear to control behavior. Relationship uses love to transform the heart. Religion focuses on rules. Relationship focuses on connection. And when you move from religion to relationship, your giving becomes pure because it is no longer mechanical but meaningful. Many people think that if they stop giving, they will lose God. But truth reveals that God does not leave you because of money. God does not abandon you because of failure. God does not reject you because of weakness. God does not turn away from you because of limitations. God is faithful beyond your performance. God is loyal beyond your contributions. God is constant beyond your ability. When you understand this truth, you stop giving out of panic. You stop giving out of insecurity. You stop giving out of desperation. And you start giving out of peace. You start giving out of gratitude. You start giving out of awareness. You start giving out of spiritual maturity. Freedom in truth also heals the wounds created by manipulation. Some people have been hurt by financial pressure. Some people have been traumatized by spiritual threats. Some people have been broken by constant demands. Some people have been confused by conflicting teachings. But truth acts like light in a dark room. It exposes lies. It heals wounds. It restores clarity. And when your heart is healed, your giving becomes pure again. Pure giving is not loud. It is not proud. It is not competitive. It is not arrogant. It is quiet, sincere, and deeply rooted in understanding. Pure giving does not seek applause. It does not seek recognition. It does not seek reward. It seeks meaning. It seeks connection. It seeks impact. When you are free in truth, you understand that giving is not about losing something, but sharing something. It is not about sacrifice alone, but about purpose. It is not about obligation, but about expression. It is not about fear, but about love. Freedom in truth also teaches you that your value is not measured by your giving. You are not more spiritual because you give more. You are not less spiritual because you give less. You are not closer to God because of your money. You are not far from God because of your lack. Your relationship with God is not defined by numbers, but by sincerity. When this truth settles in your heart, you stop comparing yourself with others. You stop feeling inferior because of your limitations. You stop feeling superior because of your abundance. And in that moment, your giving becomes pure because it is no longer driven by comparison, but by conscience. Truth also reveals that God cares about justice, compassion, integrity, humility, and love more than financial contributions. God cares about how you treat people, how you speak, how you forgive, how you act, how you think, how you live. And when you understand this, you realize that giving is only one part of a much bigger spiritual journey. Freedom in truth removes hypocrisy from giving. You stop giving with bitterness in your heart. You stop giving with hatred in your soul. You stop giving with pride in your mind. You stop giving while neglecting justice, mercy, and kindness. And when your inner life aligns with your actions, your giving becomes pure. Many people think that pure giving means giving more. But pure giving does not always mean giving more. Sometimes it means giving honestly. Sometimes it means giving wisely. Sometimes it means giving responsibly. Sometimes it means giving joyfully. Sometimes it means giving according to your capacity. And when you understand this, you stop destroying yourself financially in the name of spirituality. Freedom in truth also teaches you that God does not want you to suffer to prove your faith. God does not want you to starve to show your devotion. God does not want you to neglect your responsibilities to demonstrate your spirituality. God is not glorified by your destruction. God is not honored by your misery. God is not pleased by your suffering. When you know this truth, your giving becomes balanced, wise, and mature. You stop giving irrationally. You stop giving impulsively. You stop giving under emotional pressure. And you start giving with understanding, clarity, and peace. Truth also teaches you that generosity is not limited to money. You can give time, kindness, compassion, support, encouragement, wisdom, forgiveness, and love. And when you understand this, you realize that giving is not only about your wallet, but about your whole life. Freedom in truth transforms your identity. You no longer see yourself as someone who must give to survive spiritually. You see yourself as someone who gives because you are alive spiritually. You no longer see giving as a burden. You see it as a privilege. You no longer see it as a threat. You see it as an opportunity. When truth becomes your foundation, your giving becomes stable. It is not affected by moods. It is not controlled by fear. It is not influenced by manipulation. It is not shaken by rumors. It is not destroyed by disappointment. It flows naturally from your understanding of God and life. Freedom in truth also empowers you to ask questions. You no longer accept everything blindly. You no longer follow everything without reflection. You no longer believe everything without understanding. And when you start asking questions, you start discovering deeper meanings. And when you discover deeper meanings, your giving becomes intentional, not automatic. Truth also liberates you from guilt. You stop feeling guilty when you cannot give. You stop feeling ashamed when you are limited. You stop feeling condemned when you struggle. And when guilt leaves, joy enters. And when joy enters, giving becomes pure. Freedom in truth also reconnects you with your conscience. You no longer give because someone is watching. You no longer give because someone is threatening. You no longer give because someone is pressuring. You give because your conscience is alive. Your heart is awake. Your spirit is engaged. When truth rules your heart, your giving becomes an act of authenticity. It reflects who you are, not what you are afraid of. It reflects your understanding, not your anxiety. It reflects your love, not your pressure. Many people have never experienced this level of freedom. They have been living in spiritual tension. They have been living in financial fear. They have been living in emotional conflict. But truth has the power to set them free. And when they are free, their giving becomes pure, simple, and meaningful. Freedom in truth also changes how you see others. You stop judging people based on their giving. You stop measuring spirituality by money. You stop labeling people as faithful or unfaithful based on contributions. And when you stop judging, you start understanding. And when you start understanding, your heart becomes softer, your spirit becomes deeper, your giving becomes purer. Truth also teaches you patience. You stop rushing God with money. You stop trying to force blessings with offerings. You stop trying to accelerate destiny with donations. And when you learn patience, you realize that God's timing is not controlled by your giving. Freedom in truth brings peace into your spiritual life. You stop worrying about whether you have done enough. You stop stressing about whether you have given enough. You stop panicking about whether God is angry with you. And when peace enters, your giving becomes an expression of calmness, not chaos. Truth also reveals that God is more interested in who you are becoming than what you are giving. God is more interested in your character than your contribution. God is more interested in your transformation than your transaction. And when you understand this, your giving becomes aligned with your growth. Freedom in truth also teaches you responsibility. You stop blaming God for your financial problems. You stop blaming spirituality for your mistakes. You start understanding that wisdom, planning, discipline, and responsibility are also spiritual. And when you integrate wisdom with giving, your giving becomes sustainable and pure. Truth also removes superstition from giving. You stop believing that every offering will automatically produce miracles. You stop believing that money is a magical key. You stop believing that God can be manipulated. And when superstition leaves, maturity enters. And when maturity enters, giving becomes meaningful. Freedom in truth transforms your relationship with money itself. Money stops being your enemy. Money stops being your master. Money stops being your fear. Money becomes a tool, not a god. And when money is no longer your god, your giving becomes pure. Truth also teaches you gratitude. You start appreciating what you have instead of focusing only on what you lack. You start recognizing God's presence in your life beyond material things. And when gratitude fills your heart, giving flows naturally. Freedom in truth also brings courage. You become courageous enough to say no when necessary. Courageous enough to resist manipulation. Courageous enough to stand in understanding. Courageous enough to follow your conscience. And when courage guides you, your giving becomes honest. Truth also reconnects you with purpose. You stop giving blindly. You start giving strategically. You start supporting what aligns with your values. You start contributing to what reflects your vision. And when purpose guides your giving, it becomes powerful. Freedom in truth also deepens your spirituality. You stop performing spirituality. You start living spirituality. You stop acting religious. You start becoming conscious. And when spirituality becomes real, giving becomes authentic. Truth also removes fear of scarcity. You stop believing that God will abandon you if you fail. You stop believing that your future depends only on money. You start trusting that God's care is bigger than your contributions. And when fear of scarcity leaves, generosity becomes joyful. Freedom in truth also teaches you humility. You realize that giving does not make you superior. You realize that generosity does not make you perfect. You realize that spirituality is not measured by financial ability. And when humility enters, your giving becomes pure. Truth also brings clarity. You start understanding the difference between genuine spirituality and manipulation. You start distinguishing between love and pressure. You start recognizing truth and falsehood. And when clarity comes, your giving becomes intelligent. Freedom in truth also awakens your inner voice. You start listening to your conscience instead of external pressure. You start trusting your understanding instead of blind fear. And when your inner voice becomes strong, your giving becomes personal and sincere. Truth also restores dignity. You stop feeling like a victim of spiritual demands. You stop feeling like a tool for financial goals. You start feeling valued as a person, not as a contributor. And when dignity is restored, your giving becomes free. Freedom in truth also changes your prayer life. You stop praying out of fear. You start praying out of connection. You stop begging God because of money. You start communicating with God because of love. And when your prayer life changes, your giving changes too. Truth also reshapes your faith. Faith stops being about fear of punishment. Faith becomes about trust in love. Faith stops being about transactions. Faith becomes about relationship. And when faith becomes relational, giving becomes relational too. Freedom in truth is not loud, but it is powerful. It does not force, but it transforms. It does not threaten, but it liberates. And when truth liberates you, your giving becomes the natural language of a free heart, a conscious mind, and an awakened spirit that gives not because it is forced, not because it is frightened, not because it is controlled, but because it understands, because it loves, because it sees, because it knows, because it is alive in truth and freedom, produces pure giving